Hey guys, welcome to Horology Biology. On this video, I have received the cheapest automatic watch that you can buy on AliExpress. This is the Fngeen. Fully automatic, coming in at $17. Now, $17 for an automatic watch is ridiculously low in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot that can go wrong. I want to basically fully strip this watch down. I want to rebuild it, clean it, all of those things in a typical fashion, regardless of the value of the watch. And I want to see if I can get it running better than it was when I received it out of the box. Because when I put it on the Timergrapher, the results were so bad. This was a seriously Fngeen watch, a Fngeen watch, or whatever it is, how you want to pronounce it. Seriously guys, check out the Timergrapher Results. This is not fresh, not super fresh in any shape or forms, and certainly not how it should be done. So let's go ahead and fully strip down this watch. So I've actually removed the caseback from the watch, as you can see, and it looks like it is a screwback. Hate to break it to you, it's not. It's a snapback. They've obviously made it look like that to make it look a bit more expensive than it actually is. But you are going to need your case knife to pry it open because, yeah, if you use a caseback removing tool, you're just going to spin it forever because, well, simply put, there's no screw threads on there. I always take the rotor off of the watch, as you can see. Clearly do that because I don't want to damage it when I turn the watch out. And I'm going to remove the plastic, very, very cheap plastic movement holder, guys, as you can see. And then I can pop the watch out of the case. Now, I must admit, I was quite impressed with the color of the dial. It's really bright, it's shiny, and they've obviously gone for some kind of Rolex Submariner look with this, as it seems to be appealing in the homage world. And everybody wants that kind of thing. And for $17, I'm pretty sure most people can afford that kind of thing. But I'm a quality guy, you know, and I would rather have a watch that is basically of a lesser brand but higher quality than something that's trying to look like something it's basically not. Now, it's got the very traditional cathedral style hands, which I've basically taken off with hand levers, obviously using plastic to protect the dial, and I'm going to put those to one side and keep them safe. The next thing that I need to do is obviously remove the dial. And what I noticed was there's no dial feed screws. But then what I see, painfully, is that they have it stuck on with some kind of stickiness. Now, stickiness on your watch is not fresh. And it goes down, like I mentioned before, is you should never use glue on your watch either. It's not cool. But they've obviously done this because, quite simply put, there's no dial feed screws to secure the dial in place. So unfortunately, breaking all my better judgment, it's probably what I'm going to have to do later on too as well on this video. So I flipped the movement over now that I've put the dial away and kept it safe, and I'm going to break down the automatic works. Now, it's held on with two screws. One was a little bit small, as you can see, so you can just use Rodico and that can get in there to get it off nice and easy. And then I can lift off the automatic works bridge. Just doing it gently because I'm not sure what I'm going to find underneath. To be honest, it looks actually quite straightforward, apart from that strange rotor held in wheel, which was just freely lying around. So I got to figure that out later on. You got two automatic reversing wheels, and then there's some kind of driving wheel that's obviously connected to the crown wheel. Pretty simple, straightforward, and in principle it actually does work. So I checked it, and it is what it is. So just inspecting the wheels, I don't need to go crazy in regards to inspecting these because technically it is a brand new watch. So I'm not actually expecting that there should be any signs of rust or things like that. Now, I did find some fluff in there and some hairs. So obviously whoever's put it together has not been super clinical, and a few bits of fluff did actually get into the movement. Now, I've let the wind out of the watch, as you can see, which is something that you should always do when you're working on a mechanical watch. And now I can remove the complete balance, and I can put that to one side and keep it safe until I need it later on. So now I'm going to remove the pallet fork bridge, held in with one screw. Sorry, not a bridge, it's a cock, because there's only one screw. And I can take that out and put it to one side. Also removing the pallet forks as well. And now I can remove the ratchet wheel. Now, I'm seriously still surprised that this Fngeen watch, or Fngeen, please somebody tell me how to pronounce this watch, because I was mad troubled when I first saw it. Fngeen. I don't even know where to begin. It's just like a random amount of letters thrown in and we'll just call it a watch name, but it is what it is. But $17, yeah, that's absolutely crazy price for a fully automatic watch, which technically does work. Question is whether I'm going to get it running better. I think I will. I usually do. And I like a challenge. And as we can see with this watch, similar to the Amazon watch that I did, it is absolutely bone dry. There's no oil in there or anything, like nothing. You have a lot of metal on metal parts and there's no lubrication whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, they're mass produced, obviously, and it is what it is. So guys, if you want your chance to win a Omega Seamaster fully automatic bumper watch from 1952, all you have to do is like this video and subscribe to the channel for your chance to be in with a shot. Once this channel hits 10,000 subscribers, I am going to announce a winner of one lucky subscriber to win that fully serviced Omega watch. So what are you waiting for? So just removing the escape wheel, and then again I can put that to one side. Quick inspection to make sure that the pivots are in order, and everything seems okay so far. No hidden surprises, apart from the watch obviously running absolutely terrible. I did give the watch a few whines before I stuck it on the Timergrapher, and I was a little bit surprised and disappointed at the same time how poorly this watch was running. I mean, coming in with an amplitude around 200 for an automatic, no, it's not great. And of course you added, what was it, plus 100 seconds fast per 24 hours. I mean, for myself, it's not a problem because obviously I can regulate this and I'm cleaning it anyway. But for somebody who would buy something like this out of the box, I'm pretty sure that they would be disappointed. Or on the other side, for $17, what do they really expect, or what should they expect? Just removing the complete barrel bridge with the mainspring inside. And now that I could do all that, I can flip the movement over and tackle the other side. Now it is a calendar watch as well, as you can see, so it does have a date wheel. I did notice that the quick set date on this watch was not working. And my first thought was maybe it's just gimmickle. It doesn't have a quick set feature, because it does have the 3-crown position. And I know on some watches like this of a cheaper value, they actually have features on there which are not really features, but they make them look like they are. So I actually thought, okay, maybe it doesn't have a quick set feature, but it actually does. So I was surprised to see that as well. So breaking down the date mechanism, just removing the spring and the date change lever. A little bit of magnetism as well, I can see. And then I can just ease that date wheel out of the way. Taking off the crown wheel, and then I can remove the cannon pinion underneath, not underleaf. So how was your week, guys? My week was pretty good. A little bit quiet, but cannot complain. Plodding on as usual. I do actually have some really, really nice watches on the way that I've purchased. And what I'm going to do is, in the next few days when I receive them, I'm going to do a poll on the channel to basically decide which watch that I want to do next as a video. So I'm going to post up images of all of the watches, and then I'm going to just lay it out to you guys, and I'm going to do it as a vote and say, okay guys, which one should I film next? And you guys can decide. And there are some nice watches, some really, really nice looking watches. So it's going to be interesting for me anyway, to see which watch you guys vote for. So look out for that in the community post, and I'll be dropping that sometime next week when I receive them. I'll take a quick picture of each one, tell you what it is and what the movement is, and you guys can simply decide which one you want to see first. But there's some big named branded watches in that list, and I think there's five or six watches. So continuing with the breakdown of the date mechanism, and as you can see, it does have a quick set date. And I was really surprised to see this because, I'll be honest, I thought it was gimmickle because it wasn't working at all. And I thought, okay, if it's not working, it probably doesn't exist. So breaking down the keyless works, just removing the yoke spring, and then I can remove the yoke. And usually I get stuck with these yokes, man. I usually have to use Rodico to get them off, but this one was pretty straightforward. Removing the setting lever spring, and then I can remove the winding pinion, the sliding pinion, and also the winding stem and the crown. Now, even though this is a new watch, I am pegging these jewels. It didn't need a lot of work, guys, as you can see. There was no real crud. There wasn't even any dried oil. And once I've done that, I can also put on the balance back, ready for the cleaning machine. I'm also cracking open the mainspring barrel so I can get the original mainspring out, gently removing the arbor, and there's not any evidence of oil inside. I'm not surprised if I'm honest, and for an automatic watch it is really important that you have a break-in grease applied to the wall of the barrel. So now that all the parts are out of the cleaning machine, we can get on with the full rebuild of this Fngeen automatic watch. I'm seriously just going to mess up the pronunciation of this all through the video, so bear with me. Now I'm applying a chrono grease to the wall of the barrel. That's really important because it's an automatic mainspring. I've also wound the spring in my mainspring winding tool, popped it back into the barrel, and then I'm popping in the arbor as well, as you can see. Now the other thing that I'm doing is I'm applying a little bit of 1300 oil to the edge of the arbor, and then I'm putting on the cap of the mainspring barrel. Gently click that in place. It's all friction fit, just like any watch. They're all the same principle at the end of the day as far as I've seen, and it's good to go. Now I always do that first, and then the second thing that I always do when I start going on a watch is I oil the capstones. So as a reference, we're going to do the top one. So it's got some kind of like shock setting, as you can see. It's not Incablock, but the principle is the same. I can remove the capstone, which is in two pieces. I gave a little bit of cleaning with some one dip to the bottom part, and then the top part I clean off any old oil residue. There wasn't any, but I do it anyway. And then I can apply some fixer drop treatment to it before I re-oil it. Now the reason I use the fixer drop is it will keep the oil in one place and stop it running around when I oil it, because you only need to apply just a little bit of oil to this. Now I use 1300, hold it in place, little drop of oil, and then I can put the capstone back together. And the oil will suck to the top piece and keep it in place. And what you're looking for is that nice little bubble of oil underneath for where your balance stuff is going to go, as you can see. Pop that into the watch, close the shock setting as well, and then you're good to go. Now, once I've done that, I always clean off any excess dust on top with some Rodico as well. And then I repeat the entire process for the underside. So once you've oiled both of these capstone jewels, you can remove the complete balance from the movement. Just held in with the one screw, as you can see. Take it off, put it to one side, and keep it safe until you're going to need it later on when you've finished your watch. Now I am adding some 1300 here for where the arbor is going to sit, and also for the center wheel. Very happy to see as well, as you can see, that the center wheel is jeweled. And such a cheap watch, I'm actually surprised to see that. Obviously these jewels are not very good quality, but I'd rather have a jewel rather than no jewel. So just adding in this little bridge which is holding it in place, held in with the two screws, and I can just snip those up. Don't over tighten your screws, whatever you do. You can break them so easily. It's something you get used to with practice. People have asked me that before, and it just is a way that you just feel it. Just once you feel a bit of resistance with the screw, stop. This is not like fitting a wheel to a car or something. You don't need to keep going. So I've put in the mainspring barrel, and now I can add on the mainspring, the barrel bridge, held in with those two screws. And I'm just nipping those up, making sure that they're tight. Checking the movement, and everything is running freely, as you can see, so I'm pretty happy about that. No complaints so far. And now I can continue and build up the train of wheels. Now it's quite a traditional setup, and nothing really special in regards to this. The principles of it work, and I'm just repeating these in the exact same order that they go in. Adding a little bit of 1300 as well to the post, and then I can slide that in. Now I'm just making sure that everything lines up with my pivots before I put on the train of wheels bridge. And this one wasn't the easiest, if I'm honest. I was trying to get one of them aligned, and I had to like move things around a little bit just to get these pivots into their correct jewel holes, and eventually they did go. Now once you've got everything gone correctly, you want to basically keep on checking things, Check your mainspring barrel so that everything's running freely, and once you know everything is, then you can screw everything down. Don't screw it down before that because you will break one of the pivots, and if you break it, you're in a serious sticky situation because then you've broken it and you're going to need to replace the wheel. And I'll be honest, especially with this watch, I was taking extra care because I only had one of these watches, and well, if I broke one, then there's not going to be a video, is there? And that would be pretty crappy for everybody. Me too, because it takes a lot of effort to make these videos. Seriously does. So adding in the click spring and then just tightening that down with that monster-sized, oversized screw. Also adding on the crown wheel. It's got a very tiny little core that I've just put on, which looks more like a washer. And then I can put that in. Now it is a reverse threaded screw, even though it's not marked. So for people who don't know this, you will screw this the opposite way that you usually would in order to tighten it. And of course the guys at Fngeen or Fngeen or whatever it is, this watch, they did not mark this on the screw. So if you don't know what you're looking for, you would just think that that's a regular screw and you'd go ahead, tighten it the wrong way or unscrew it the wrong way and obviously shear off the screw head, and then you'd be screwed. And that's not fresh. No sir, it's not. Added in the ratchet wheel, and that's obviously held in as well with the one large screw. So just giving it a few turns, everything is engaging. So little 90-10 to the jewels. Not the easiest to oil, if I'm honest, because like I said, these jewels, they're not even really proper jewels. They are like a really thin plastic material, but I would rather add a little bit of oil than no oil. Just enough just to hit the pivot. So moving on to the pallet forks, adding fixer drop treatment because I am going to oil the exit stone of the pallet forks, and I can just pop those in and then I can put in the pallet cock. It was a little bit tricky, this one, if I'm honest, to get it on first, but I got there in the end. Making sure again that the pivots are engaged, and then I can pop in that one screw. Now I do give it a few little winds, and then I'm just checking that the pallets are moving backwards and forwards. Now for the oiling of the exit stone, I'm using 9415, just adding a very small amount to the exit stone, and then I'm rocking the pallet forks backwards and forwards 5 or 6 times. I do repeat the process, and you do this in order to make sure that all of the teeth of the escape wheel do get a little piece of oil. Once that's done, I'm adding in the complete balance, and the watch fires up. I mean, it should do. It's new, and it's been oiled, cleaned, and freshly done by yours truly. Held in with the one screw. So I've turned the watch over now, and I'm adding a little bit of grease as well where the cannon pinion is going to go. It is important that you do grease where your cannon pinion lives. It's a friction fit piece, so it will just snap down. Also adding a little bit of grease as well to the winding pinion, and the principle will be repeated for the sliding pinion as well. I also add a little bit of grease as well on top for where the yoke is going to go, just a smidge, because the yoke will rest on top of that sliding pinion, and obviously you're going to be engaging that many times when you're setting the time of the watch. In goes the crown and the winding stem, and then I can continue with the keyless works. So on goes the setting lever, $1,300 on the posts for the intermediate wheel and also for where the minute wheel is going to live. And then I can pop on the minute wheel. So just add in the yoke, and then I can put on the yoke spring as well. A little bit of grease as well between the setting lever and the yoke. It is metal on metal. So again, I've stressed about this many times, guys. It is important that you oil your metal on metal parts. Metal wears. And when it's a cheap ass watch like this, it's going to probably wear even quicker. Not fresh. So just checking sure that everything engages. And the bottom part you can see is it's part of the quick set date mechanism. And again, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, I was surprised it had this. Again, for such a cheap watch to have an extra complication like this, it was quite surprising. It didn't work when I got it. So I'm curious to see if it's going to work now that I've cleaned everything and I've actually added some proper lubrication. Lubrication makes such a difference in regards to a watch. Believe me, it really, really does. Again, a little bit of grease as well for where this quick set date mechanism is going to go. And then just applying that little plate which is held down with the one screw just to keep the minute wheel secure. So it obviously doesn't move around freely. So wiping off, obviously, any excess grease with some Rodico. It's very important when you service a watch that if you do apply a little bit too much oil or grease, which you will do from time to time, it's completely normal and there's nothing wrong with that, just as long as you make sure to clean up your mess afterwards. And Rodico is a perfect tool for that. So adding on these two date wheels and that intermediate wheel, I added a little 1300 as well onto the posts. Also a little 1300 onto the cannon pinion for where the hour wheel is going to go. And then I can just pop that on, as you can see. On goes the date wheel. And then I'm just making sure that I align the spring and the date wheel. Yeah, it's like a lever for changing a quick set date for changing it. And then of course we have this massive plate which lives on top and holds everything down, which I actually like to see. Again, just giving a quick clean with Rodico, and then I want to test things and make sure that things are engaging. And I'm very happy to see that the quick set date was working. Very surprised, as I've mentioned earlier, very surprised indeed. So I turn the watch back over and I'm just adding a little bit of oil for where the automatic works are going to go. I'm just adding it onto those jewels because I need to put in these wheels prior. So you've got these two reversing wheels, and then you've got some kind of driving wheel which is connected to that crown wheel. They were a little bit fiddly to get into these pivots because there's so much weight on these wheels. Just wasn't the easiest at all. And again, this very small wheel, which actually screws directly into the rotor as well. Now, for the bearings for this, I removed these. I did this off camera earlier on because I did not want to throw these bearings into the cleaning machine. They seem very loose and I was a little bit concerned that they were going to break or come away within the cleaning machine, and then of course it would make the whole video completely pointless. So I removed them, I gave them a quick clean by hand, and then I've obviously just screwed them back onto this Autoworks bridge. Now just lining everything up completely, just using a plastic tool to hold everything down, making sure that the pivots for the wheels are going into the correct jewel holes. And then once I'm okay with everything, I can screw it down. And it's just held in with those two screws, guys. And guys, we're really nearly there. I am very curious to see how this is going to be running. So adding a little bit of oil to the top for the jewels. And this was the problem with the dial. So I was using some dial feet sticky pads. It's basically like double-sided sticky tape. You put the tab on and then you can remove the top, so you've got it sticky on both sides. I do not like these things, guys. But with this dial, there's absolutely no choice because there's no dial feed screws and it's not friction fit enough to fit. And as they were using it before, they were obviously using it for a reason. So unfortunately, it is something that I had to add as well. Not fresh, not cool. So re-adding the dial to the watch, and I'm just making sure that they stick in place so that it can keep the dial secure. Checking that the date works, and it does. Check out the quick set. Very surprised. And as we're getting so much close towards the end now, I can refit the hands as well to the watch. So it's just an hour, minute, and seconds hand. Make sure that your date lines up at 12 o'clock, and then you can add your your hour hand. Once that's lined up, of course, then you can move on to your minute hand. They're all friction fit, just like on any watch. The main thing is just make sure that you line everything up at 12 o'clock, and then I can just push those on and fit into place. Date change at 5 to 12, I'm more than happy with that. That's more than acceptable. And then I can put on the seconds hand. Making sure that all of the hands don't touch each other, nothing, no restrictions, and everything is running freely, which it is. And I'm happy with that. Date change at 5 to 12 as well. Anywhere between 5 to 12 and 5 past 12 is acceptable in my book. And now I can case up this watch. So giving everything a quick blow, and then I can just add and offer the case to the movement and the dial, line it up, and then flip it over. Oh, and I'm really curious about how this is going to run. So a little bit of grease to the winding stem, and then I can offer that to the watch. It's not a setting lever screw, it's just a push one, which obviously makes life a little bit easier. And I can just push that simply in. Add in this really high-tech movement holder. Very cheap plastic, guys, but, well, it is what it is. We paid $17 for this watch, so we cannot complain. And then I can finally just offer the rotor, held in with that one screw. And make sure that's nice and tight. And of course it's running freely. So just adding the case back to the watch as well. And again, like I said, it's just a simple snap back case. There's a little indent for where the crown lives. Sorry, I mean for where the winding stem is. And then you can line that up, and then you can basically just snap that back on. I did use a crystal press for this because it was a little bit tough, which is a good thing because it's obviously going to make it a bit more waterproof. So that's good. And then I can simply just click that in place. So I did check this watch on the Timergrapher before I cased up the watch, and I must admit I am happy with the results. Coming up with an amplitude in the high 280s with a rate of around +10. I'm very happy with this. There is some beat error, which I will sort out later on, but overall, pretty damn fresh. So guys, thanks for watching this video. It was the Fngeen Automatic, the $17 AliExpress watch. If you like this video, hit a like on it. And if you want to watch another video, there's one on the screen right now. Guys, as always, till next time.